Hey, everybody. I'm CJ LeMaster, your host for the Digital News Desk update here on WLBT Plus, also your lead investigative reporter for WLBT. Hope you're doing well on this Friday. We're almost ready for the weekend. We've only got really a few more hours left before that happens. So hope that the rest of your work week has been doing well. We have several of you watching right now on our Facebook live stream and also, too, on our YouTube channel and on our OTT platform and web app as well. A lot of different places that you can watch the Digital News Desk update, and we appreciate you watching today. Of course, we want to be able to have your comments, and we want you to be able to get in on the conversation with us and interact with us as we go through the top stories that we're going to be telling you about. One of them, of course, something that we have been following since last night, and that is the latest killing here in the capital city. Here's what we can tell you at this point. One person is dead. Others have been injured. Another has been injured, after a shooting involving a possibly stolen truck in South Jackson. Now, the interim police chief, Tyree Jones, says it happened last night at the intersection of Lakewood Drive and West McDowell Road. We've got some video from the scene to show you here. Now, investigators believe a 19-year-old approached someone at the home and took their truck. The two exchanged gunfire, and both were hit in the process. The man who took the truck died, and the vehicle wrecked on Lakewood. The other person was taken to the hospital with a gunshot wound to the leg. Chief Jones says officers are still investigating how the whole thing began.
Now, we have not been able to determine if he took it by force at this time or if he got into the vehicle without force. But the individual was armed, and there was an exchange of gunfire.
That individual has been identified as 19-year-old Carnell Randolph Jr. of Jackson. Of course, we are continuing to follow the story. We'll have more updates as they become available. As the unsolved killing grows colder by the day, the mother of Gary Henderson Jr., I should say, is asking for answers to the homicide involving her son. The then 26-year-old was found lying near the patio of his Reserve of Byram apartment back on October 4th, 2024. Tracy Money says her son had gone to the state fair that Friday night before visiting his girlfriend at her job, then returning to his home. Henderson was shot 3 times in the back. Residents have been of little help to police. His mother says bullet holes were in the walls of the bedroom and living rooms.
He was left at his home, bleeding to death with shots in his back. Whoever he seen in his apartment, he was trying to run for his life.
Federal partners are helping Byram police in analyzing digital data. Call Crime Stoppers if you have any information. Well, I want to say a quick hello to some of you watching today. Britt saying happy Friday, everyone. Britt Glad to see you're watching. Hope you're having a great Friday as well. Some customers of Canton Municipal Utilities say their unusually high bills still have not been explained or adjusted by the utility. Now, the Southern Poverty Law Center held a public meeting last night for customers to share their stories. Representatives were there from CMU, the city, and the state. Back in April, the utility told the Public Service Commission that it needed to raise rates to fund infrastructure improvements. Some at last night's meeting said the government should shoulder some of that expense.
I think our question has been and remains like, to what extent, at what extent is government responsible for their derelict of duty? You know, the maintenance of infrastructure that falls on the people who've been appointed to the board. And so I just think there was a lot of passing of the blame and putting of the burden on people here in this community.
Now, the SPLC plans to hold more meetings like this regarding residents' bills as well. A couple other people saying hi. Melissa Price. Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. Hope you're doing well, Melissa. It's good to see you as well. We talked a little bit about this yesterday, about the investigation we were doing into that Brookhaven FedEx shooting and the mistrial that followed. We want to go ahead and show you that entire story here in case you didn't get to see it last night. And I'd love to get your, your responses to it if you'd like to chime in on that. But again, it's been more than 8 months now since a judge dismissed that case against 2 Brookhaven men who allegedly shot at a black FedEx driver. The reason, it was because of evidence that basically both sides claimed they never got from a detective. The detective claims he was made a scapegoat. And now for the first time, the man who prosecuted that case responds to these allegations. Do you feel like you were intentionally targeted?
It's hard for me to answer that directly, saying that they intentionally did it. There could be the motive to be doing that, because that's the only person they can blame it on.
Former Brookhaven police detective Vincent Fernando maintains he did everything by the book, starting with his investigation of a shooting that could have killed FedEx driver DeMonterio Gibson. In January 2022, Gibson dropped off a package at a house in Brookhaven. At that point, the driver of a pickup truck tried to cut him off, so he swerved and went around him. Gibson said a second man pointed a gun at the van and tried to get him to stop. When Gibson drove away, the man fired shots at the van. Those men were Gregory Case and his son, Brandon. Fernando felt confident they had ample evidence to convict the two.
They prepared me for the trial, and we went through everything with my file and their file, and they never ever asked me to missing anything they have.
In July of 2023, more than a year after Fernando said he turned over everything in his possession to the district attorney's office, that district attorney, D. Bates, says he held an evidentiary hearing to make sure they had everything. They even put Fernando on the stand.
He was actually, I hate to use the word interrogated, but questioned in front of Judge Strong before the trial ever began in August, because that's where you see in the transcript, I was concerned that we may be missing stuff.
The next month, the trial for Brandon and Gregory Case. The two men were charged with attempted first-degree murder, conspiracy, and shooting into a vehicle. During the second day of trial, the unthinkable happened while one of the defense attorneys was questioning Fernando.
Dan Kitchens was asking him questions, asking him about a video, and he opens his file up and lo and behold pulls out another. And then if you watch that video, you can see Dan look over at me in shock, and I'm just going, I can't believe on national TV that this is happening.
That day in court, when he pulled disc 10 out, was that the first time that you had seen that?
That was the first time I've seen that disc, yes. He came with his file. We had our file that he had because it was brought back to us by Kitchens and Stubbs. And we had it. And comparing it, we did not have that disc.
What is your account of when that disc was created, where it was stored, and when it was first given to prosecutors?
I gave them everything with the file I gave them before the grand jury. So I know they had it.
Disc 10 was an interview with Gibson that would have only helped the state's case.
Was there any exculpatory evidence on there? No, it wasn't. But again, the state has responsibility to produce everything.
Bates maintains the disc was not in the file they were given. But Fernando's interview with us revealed something Bates did during the case other attorneys have called unusual. The DA didn't make a copy of Fernando's case file to give to the defense. He just handed the original over. So you wouldn't give a copy, you would give the actual file?
We would give the actual file.
Other jurisdictions, other places in the state, might look at that and say, why not just give a copy?
Why? Because we actually have the original copy still with law enforcement, and you can compare it to. And he brought his original. And that's where it came from, out of his file on the stand. Why wasn't in there? He's going to speculate that it was taken out by the defense attorneys, which is not true.
Is there any evidence that could have happened? I mean, it would have resulted in discovery issues within your office if that was the case.
They would have. With that being said, when we had the hearing in July, they went through each one of the discs and asked, and specifically asked, are there any others? And he asked, and he said no.
Fernando told us an investigator in the DA's office told him the case file had been changed somehow when it came back from the defense attorneys, but he never said that under oath during the trial. The next day, the defense moved for a mistrial, and Judge David Strong granted it.
You already knew what kind of case you had because you'd investigated it. To now hear these things in the courtroom, I just can't imagine what's going through your mind at that point.
Actually, my mind is say, why are you accusing me something is not really valuable to the defense? And you're just attacking me for no reason and made me like I'm not a good detective. And they made sure their defense, both defendant walk away. I believe it's district attorney did not pursue it. His part of the job.
Bates left office in December 2023. His successor, Brendan Adams, did not have to try the case again because Judge Strong dismissed the charges with prejudice in January of this year, meaning it can never be brought again.
People will see that and think, oh, there was a conspiracy. The fix was in, that kind of a thing. Whether it involved you or not, the judge and the defense attorneys were in on it or what have you. And he didn't come right out and say that in the interview with us, but he did believe that it was political in nature. What do you say to that?
I would say there was no fix while I was involved. There's no doubt about that. When I left office, the case was still pending, okay? With that being said, I am well aware of the people that are in office. And I would say they're friends of mine. And I would have a problem if there was a fix. I do not believe that there was. There is no doubt the person that has lost in this case is DeMontario Gibson. And there's no doubt in my mind, or I wouldn't have been trying this case, is that he is in fact a victim and was fired upon in the back. I mean, the evidence shows that. And yes, the criminal justice system failed him in that. And that's a responsibility of my office too.
Now, last year, during another hearing on the case, the court learned more evidence had not been turned over, some of it body camera footage. Detective Fernando says the IT department told him they didn't have it, and that's how he couldn't get it. The discrepancy led to the case's dismissal this year. One more thing, we had reached out to DeMontario Gibson to get his reaction to what the detective and former DA said. He has not yet agreed to an interview with us, but when we talked to him shortly after the case was dismissed in January, he told us he also felt Fernando was a scapegoat. That's something that the former Brookhaven police chief, Kenneth Collins, also said when he was interviewed by our Howard Ballou in a story earlier this year as well. We're going to continue to follow that story and bring you any developments on that as well. Before we let you go, we want to leave you with a word from our sponsor, Jackson Water.
From Jackson Water, is it okay to pour fats, oils, and greases down the drain if I run hot water?
No!
What if I run the garbage disposal?
No!
How about if I use dish soap at the same time?
No!
Instead, hang on to a few containers to store and toss old cooking fat and grease once you're done. Jackson Water. Water for all the time.